So welcome to Deep Stretch. My name is Madison. For class tonight, you might want 2 blocks and a blanket or a small pillow or bolster, something to that effect. And we'll get started tonight in a constructive rest. So lie down onto your back and let your feet come to the ground. Your knees will be bent and your feet can be wide on your mat, letting your knees kind of knock in toward one another. If being on your back doesn't work, you can take a seated posture or a posture on your side, something that is comfortable for you. And when you have found your comfortable pose, just start to settle in, letting your awareness draw inward. Begin to notice your breath. Throughout class, we'll treat this like a yin class. So holding postures for an extended period of time, giving your body a chance to fully surrender to each shape. Take a big deep breath in through your nose. Fill the lungs. And let a sigh out. Again, breathe in. Fill, fill, fill. Belly and chest rise up. And then exhale, soften the back body onto your mat, or your sits bones down if you are seated. Just taking a couple more deep breaths to settle into your practice. Notice your feet planting on the ground or resting, maybe the ankles if you're seated. Just bring your awareness into your feet. Notice if they're cold, or if you're holding any tension there, try to soften your feet. If you're still taking those long, deep breaths, you might start to let the breath settle back into its natural rhythm. Staying aware of how it flows in and out of your body, of your lungs. But not worrying about manipulating it to be a certain length. You can let your awareness travel from your feet all the way up into your legs, shins, knees, thighs. Maybe settling it for a moment on your hips. traveling up through the belly and the side bodies. Just trying to notice what's going on in each area. Is there tightness? Is there softness? Extending to the shoulders, the arms, and the hands. Letting all of those little mental notes guide your practice for the remainder of the time that we are here. Go ahead and start to walk your feet in towards center if you're on your back. We'll move to a Supta Baddha Konasana. So now your feet will come together, soles touch, and the knees can fall out wide. Beautiful option for those blocks to slide under the outer thighs. If you're seated, you can also bring the soles of the feet together, knees out wide. And same option for blocks to come under the legs to support you. In the yin practice, we start the pose at the first place that we feel sensation, where you start to feel the stretching, opening, and allowing the time that we are in the posture to help soften even further. We're in the season now of Pisces from an astrological perspective. Pisces being a water sign. It's all about liminal space, space between sometimes that can mean space of unknown. Maybe not sure of what comes next, or in what areas the transitions are even happening yet. A couple more full rounds of breath here in this position, this posture. After the end of your next exhale, gather your knees up. Maybe use your hands to help close your legs in like a book. If you'd like to hug the knees into the chest for a moment, you can. We'll move into a variation of Chandrasana, crescent moon pose. So on your back, that looks like drawing both feet over to the bottom right corner of the mat. Both arms reach up and overhead to the top right corner of the mat. If you're seated, this can look like a lateral bend over to your right side with your right hand planted on the ground. Left arm reaching. We're working to stretch here, the left side body. If you're lying down, keep that left hip, that left shoulder rolling down toward the ground. Sending your breath to your left side, waist, your left rib cage. As we hold these postures, our superficial muscles start to relax and start to get out of the way so that we can stretch into the deeper connective tissues, the ligaments, the joints, the fascia. Allowing those pieces of the body to gently expand. Some of the stretching sensation goes away in the left side, you can take the feet over just a touch further, or maybe you cross left ankle over right. Only an option. Taking about 3 more breaths on this side. Full deep inhales and exhales. And when you're ready, drawing your body through center, we stretching the arms long. Taking a quick scan, noticing the differences in left and right at this moment. And transitioning to the other side, walking the arms and the feet over to the left. And right hip, right shoulder continues to roll down, staying on the earth. If you're seated, also rolling that right shoulder back. At this point in the posture, if the stretch has started to subside, you might take it a touch deeper or cross the right ankle over the left. Do one last round of breath here. And then stretching long back through your center. And we'll move up to seated in any way that works for you. Maybe rolling onto a side and rising up. And when you get there, you can reach for your blanket or your pillow. We're going to stretch the legs out long for caterpillar pose. So allowing for a generous bend in the knees. And placing that blanket, pillow, whatever you've got underneath the knees to give you some support. You can kind of shimmy around if you need to get the sits bones down. Then we'll just start to fold over the legs, not worrying as much about a long spine as we do in the yang practice, a vinyasa style practice. You might use those blocks to create a little shelf for your forehead to rest, stacking them up. Reaching your hands toward your feet. Great work, everyone. Nice, Betsy. And so Pisces is our season of feelings, as it's often categorized as. And sometimes in those spaces of unknown, those spaces in between, we fill them with thoughts and stories and feelings and busyness. And at some point, we have to digest all of that if we decide it's worth remembering, or if it's rubbish, it needs to come out of our mind. So this yin practice offers us a place to slow down, to not fill all the gaps, but instead to create this space, this cocoon for whatever to come up that wants to. In our last few rounds of breath here, see if there's anything left that you can give to this shape, anywhere else you can soften into it. At the end of this cycle of breath, go ahead and slowly start to walk yourself back up. We'll take the legs out a little bit wide into a wide leg seated position. This doesn't have to be the widest split that you've ever done, just enough to start to feel sensation in the inner thighs. And we'll first fold into this, and then we'll take the lateral bend of it. So we'll do each for a couple of minutes, but know that if at any point you need to shift, that's perfectly fine. So we'll start by turning toward the right leg and folding in. You can, again, add your blocks, maybe for a place for your forehead or underneath your hands. You can add a pillow or blanket under the right knee if you need that to help you keep a bend, a softness in that right knee. You might start to feel sensations in multiple different places of the body here, maybe the hamstring or the inner thigh. I feel a little bit in my the left side of my lower back, the IT band area. Know that this practice asks us to sit with that discomfort, to use the breath. To avoid filling the space with the stories that we tell ourselves. Because it's really in those spaces in between that we start to find peace. Start to walk yourself up out of this fold, and we'll move to the lateral stretch on this side. So you're a lot of options here. You can have your forearm to a block or on your shin. I like to just reach for my shin or ankle with the right hand, and then stretch your left arm up and reach it toward your right toes. Stretching here into the left side waist. Rotating that left shoulder back. And as a studio this week, we've been talking about the theme of bhava. Some teachers have maybe said it's bhav without the A on the end. And that's translated into a deep feeling. And that can be happiness, sadness, fear, etc., all the feelings, but not at its superficial level. It's deep, deep, deep within. Go ahead and take one more breath on this side. Reach the left fingertips. Exhale. Gently, slowly drawing the torso up through center, taking a round of breath here in the middle before we transition to the left side. And then when you're ready, if you're using any of the props to support you, moving those over to the left side. And starting to turn the torso over the left leg and reaching, folding in. So for me, this idea of bhava has been a little bit intangible. Because your bhava is just something that you feel within you. It's something that you experience rather than something you can journal about or say, this is my bhava. It's really this feeling that happens when the edges of an experience start to soften and blend together. So it's not always something that can be named. But rather just this feeling, this knowing that it's there. Offering yourself a few more rounds of breath here. Fully surrender to this shape. And then gently starting to lift the torso back up. Moving to that lateral side body stretch. So left hand to your shin or your ankle or the ground or a block. And right arm reaches up and over. Good, Hannah, great job. Sending your breath into those right ribs, rolling the right shoulder back. Feeling that stretch. Softening the left shoulder if it's creeping up toward the ear. Breathing in. Breathing out. Go ahead and come back up through center. And we'll keep the right leg stretched out long. Two options for what the left leg is going to do. We can set up for a Janu Shavasana with the left sole of the foot coming to the right inner thigh. Or you can move to half lotus, Ardha Padmasana, which would be with the left ankle coming into the right hip socket. This is not how my body works, so I'm not going to take that posture. But if your hips and your inner left thigh is feeling up to it, you can take that version as well. And we'll turn the torso either way over the extended right leg and start to fold forward, reaching hands toward right foot. Again, offering yourself any props you need here. Maybe that blanket tucked up underneath your right knee to keep it nice and soft. Blocks for your forehead. Pausing when you start to feel the sensation, that's where you stop. And then from there, you can just let the gravity do the work as your muscles slowly start to relax. And then the deeper tissue starts to relax. Find new length, new expansion. We'll be here for about another minute, making any adjustments you need to. And settling back in. One final round of breath here. And gently start to walk back up. We'll take this into a little twist. Left hand comes back behind your hips. Right hand to your left knee. Making this as gentle or as fierce as you would like. Breathing in. Breathing out. Make your way back through center and we'll swap out sides. Left leg can extend long, right sole of your foot to left inner thigh for Janu Shavasana. If you're taking the half lotus variation, you're welcome to do that, sliding your right heel in toward the socket of your left hip. And turning toward the left leg and then gently folding in, rounding the spine. Pausing where you feel the sensation. Again, it could be in a multitude of places. Tapping into your inner feeling, your inner knowing will tell you where to stay. You're about halfway through, so making any adjustments that you need to. Encouraging your muscles to relax a little bit deeper. Taking one final breath in here. And letting it go. Slowly rising back up. Removing any of the props. Just letting that settle in for a moment and seated. Oh, taking the twist. Yep. Thank you, Hannah. Thank you all. Right hand behind your sits bones, left hand to your right knee, twisting over to that right side. Breathing in, breathing out. Gently coming through center, and now Just letting this kind of settle in for a moment. You can bring both knees in towards Sukhasana. Just kind of feeling what's going on in the spine and the side bodies, as those have been stretched quite a lot, different directions. We'll lower back down onto our backs. So we'll set up for a supported bridge pose, just a little bit of hip extension. If you're carrying a baby in your belly, this could look like a seated cow pose, or maybe a cow pose from tabletop. Just something to kind of let the front body expand a little bit. And so if you're taking supported bridge on the ground, you'll lie back, soles plant on the ground, knees to the ceiling. Press into the feet to lift the hips. A block will slide under the sacrum, that lowest portion of your back. Just giving the front body a soft opening here. You can keep your feet planted on the ground, or you can extend them to the front of your space, giving the hip flexors even additional kind of stretch. Just an option, not a requirement. Beautiful choices, everyone. Notice if your thoughts start to trail off. Can you bring them back to this space? Can you bring your awareness, your attention back to your breath? Always that simple invitation to come back into what you're feeling right now. making that space for whatever wants to come up. About 5 more rounds of breath. Then when you're ready, press into the feet. Lift the hips just enough to slide that block out from underneath you, coming back down onto your back. We'll move into a supine twist. And this can look however you'd like. Your knees could stack. One leg can be extended, they can be crossed. So any version that works for you. We'll start with dropping the knees over to the right side. You can reach those left fingertips out to the left, right fingertips out to the right, maybe gaze over to your left. If the stretch has started to dissipate, you can maybe reach the left fingertips a little bit further away from the body, maybe up slightly at an angle, or you might draw the palm to the ground versus the top of the hand, just seeing how that might feel. If you're still feeling an ample stretch, stay exactly as you are. When you're ready, gently draw the legs up through center. And we'll twist over to the left side. And any variation of the supine twist that works for you, knees stacked, the left leg more closer to the top of the mat, the long edge. You might extend the gaze over to your right fingertips. Noticing all those spaces in between, the pause in between the in-breath and the out-breath. Pause at the bottom of the exhale. The pause between wandering thoughts. Remembering that it's in those moments that we start to find the most peace. We start to tap into deep feelings, deep knowing. For the final minute of this pose, if you need to amp up any of the stretching, you might again reach the right fingertips further away, maybe up at an angle or palm down. Again, just options. Slowly start to draw your knees up through center, squaring off the body, and setting up for our final pose of rest, our traditional Shavasana with feet stretched to either corner of the mat, arms down by your sides, palms to the sky. Feeling free to take this version or any other version of a resting posture. Maybe it's on your side or seated. Anywhere that you can give your body, your mind, permission to fully rest. Go ahead and take a sip of air in through your nose, bringing a little awareness. Then exhaling it out, softening your body, letting your muscles relax, letting your mind start to calm and stay in this moment. Permission to do nothing. Take in a sip of air through your nose and slowly release the breath, inviting your prana, your life giving energy back into your body through your breath. And let the breath permeate out into the limbs, into the toes, into the fingers. And start to find small movement. We'll make our way back into a seated position as slowly as you like, in any way that makes sense for you. Keeping your eyes closed or heavy. Draw the palms together at your heart center when you get there. And gently bow your chin in toward your chest, finding a moment of gratitude for showing up tonight for yourself. And we'll breathe in, lift the thumbs to the third eye center, the space in between and just above your eyebrows, where your physical body meets with your divine being. And together, in respect for each other in this community, in this practice, we'll bow forward. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace.